Good morning, everyone. Good morning, UK. Good morning, the rest of the world as well. We started the day with a bit of snow. They did say it was going to come, and it's finally come. So it's there you go. We got a little drizzle of white, and that's it. Hopefully, that's the end of it, and we can all get on with the rest of our lives. Okay, right. Today I'm doing a live to go through, tell you about what my experience has been for the last 20 years. Hi Andrula, hi Sai. So if I don't mention you, it's because I can't see you, so just say hi or send a little your hand, wave your hand and I'll see you're there. So yeah, the live today is very important for me, and the reason I'm doing this live is not because I particularly think that people care about what I've done for the last 20 years particularly, but is to give you an unbiased experience from my part of all the different diets that are out there, the main ones, if you like, as I've gone through them. Yeah, there is a lot at the moment. There's a lot of controversy. There's a lot of, hi Graham, there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of almost fanatic behavior towards diet, and it's becoming almost like the new religion, unfortunately, with people pushing their point of view and giving false information out there. The way I look at it is this: if someone has not tried a specific diet, they have no place in advising people about it. Because if they haven't tried it, then they don't really know what it feels like. Yeah. So, there's no point in saying this is the best way to eat when you haven't even tried any other way of eating. Yeah. So try it yourself, see what it feels like, and then, then you can tell people what the diet is really like. So that's all I got to say about that. I'm not interested in getting involved in the controversy between certain groups, because that is absolutely ridiculous. So we got major problems in the country, like diabetes, obesity, heart disease is on the increase, and all we do is fighting between, different camps, where we should be just concentrating on what's most important anyway. So my experience, right? Obviously, for those of you who know me, I'm Italian. So obviously I was raised on a typical Mediterranean diet up until the age of 17. So usual stuff, pasta, bread, vegetables, olive oil, meat, fish, everything. It was a bit of everything, yeah. Contrary to public belief, Italians don't eat pasta every single day. Italians don't eat bread every single day, every single meal. No, we do balance things. So we do like our proteins as well, and our good vegetables, and olive oil and stuff like that. So we don't live on pasta and pizza all day long. So this is just stereotypes, yeah. So at the age of 17, I decided to become vegetarian. Why did I do that? I think it was more of a rebellious stage, as you do when you're a teenager. Not so much because I knew a lot about it. At the time, I had a teacher at school who was a vegetarian, and a few chats with her, and what she was saying made sense. More on the, we don't need to eat animals to live. We're not like lions. I need to eat animals to survive, and it's more on the ethical side, if you like, yeah. And I thought, oh, okay, I agree with that. I mean, that's true. We don't need to eat animals to live. So, okay, fine, let's give it a shot. My dad thought it was going to be a temporary phase, teenage thing. After doing it for a few weeks, maybe a few months, I would give up. Well, that phase lasted 20 years. Yeah. From the age of 17 until the age of 37, I was vegetarian. Now, there's different variation of vegetarian, basically. So some vegetarians eat eggs and cheese, that was me, but don't eat any fish or any type of meat. Yeah, so anything that used to have a heartbeat, basically, that was my ultimate point. If something had a heartbeat, I wouldn't touch it. Yeah, so fish got heartbeat. You might not consider as animal, but some people do. Eggs are not developed yet, so there was never a heartbeat in the eggs. And dairy obviously comes from animals that haven't been killed to get the dairy out of them. So that was the reasoning behind that. Yeah, it was an ethical issue for me at the time, and I followed the diet. So and it was, what I thought was healthy, what I thought was fairly balanced, and I was quite happy with that. And then at the age of 19, I came to live in the UK. I left Italy, and it was a bit stressful life as well, different things. And I started to develop this already when I was in Italy. I started to notice I was getting, every now and again, I was getting dairy sensitivities. It wasn't intolerance, but every now and again I would get some severe stomach aches when I was having dairy products. There was a phase when I even stopped having dairy completely because the stomach ache got very intense. But then I was able to reintroduce and it was obviously fine. So, you know, it didn't bother me. It's, you know, I was having it, I was having eggs, you know, I was having plenty. It was all beans, lentils, grains, you know, everything basically. And then when I came to the UK, things started to change, and I started to suffer from constant sinus attacks, started to suffer from stomach aches all the time. My bowels were either, excuse the, you know, for the information, but my bowels either, I was either constipated or was having diarrhea. There was nothing in between. It was absolutely awful. I was bloated all the time. I started putting on weight for no reason, you know, without, you know, having changed my diet specifically. It was a stressful time, of the obviously time for me as well at the time, going through divorce from my husband, you know, having had a child and everything. But it's, inside generally was feeling absolutely awful, and I thought, what the hell is going on here? You know, I've been eating the same thing pretty much, and I couldn't work out what was going on. And that was until I all of a sudden I developed a lump on my thyroid, yeah, which is called the goiter. And one of my colleagues actually noticed it. At the time I was in financial services. She goes to me, you got a lump on your throat. And I go, oh, okay. It didn't actually hurt, I didn't notice. So anyway, cut a long story short, I did checked, and after various tests and biopsy, I was told, okay, there's something abnormal about that. Is on your thyroid, is a goiter. We need to remove part of your thyroid and a lump. Okay, fine, remove it. I mean, you trust the doctors, don't you? After all, not anymore now, but in those days I used to. So fine, they put you medication, great medication, thyroxine, and that was the first warning sign something wasn't right. But I still kept my vegetarian diet because I got used to that, you know, I was still comfortable with that. And then all of a sudden I started developing, and this was within months, I started developing really bad stomach aches. Really bad stomach aches, and I thought, oh, what the hell is going on? So I couldn't work out what the problem was, so I decided to do at the time a food intolerance test, and I thought, you know, so let's have a look whether there's something that is not good for me. Of course, in the food intolerance test, what came out from the test was I was allergic to pretty much everything, intolerant to everything. When you're on a vegetarian diet, you tend to eat pretty much similar foods all the time. So lots of legumes, your lentils, beans and stuff like that, rice, you know, pasta and bread and all types of grains, vegetables, soya, I was very hot, eggs, because you need your proteins, dairy. Well, of course, the things I was intolerant to were eggs, dairy, soya, gluten. What else was there? Numerous vegetables and legumes was, oh, okay. But basically, were the things I was having regularly as part of my diet, being vegetarian diet, yeah. So basically, I was advised at the time, I saw a nutritionist. Was at the time I was still in financial services, yeah. I wasn't in fitness. I was advised at the time, okay, you need to exclude them all. And I go, whoo! I mean, you exclude all of those, and I don't eat meat or fish. What am I left with? You know. So they told me go on a vegan diet. Okay, so I went on a vegan diet, and of course I couldn't have soy. You know, so vegans can have soy. I couldn't have that because this was one of my allergens, yeah, on the thing. So, oh my God. Okay, so I was basically living on all the things that were not on the thing. The vegetables that were on that, nuts and seeds, and whatever gluten-free grains, the rice, the quinoa, all the kind of stuff that wasn't reactive to me, according to the test, and the bloating went down. But oh my Lord, I mean, I was on the vegan diet for about, I was 3 months in total. After the first month, I felt like I'd been hit by a truck, by a lorry. It was that exhausting for me. I was going to the gym at the time. At the time I was going to the gym, you know, at the weekend only, because I had a full-time job that wasn't involving the gym. And oh my God, my weights, the weights I could lift, dropped by a good 30 to 40%. I lost a huge amount of muscle mass. I lost a lot of weight, which I wasn't worried about, but it was dropping quite quickly, despite the fact trying to, you know, to get enough nutrients in, trying to get enough calories in. I even resorted to vegan protein shakes made from hemp seeds and flax seeds and stuff like that, to try to pea protein and that kind of thing, just to try to get more protein in my body, because oh my God, I'm losing all my muscle mass here. But the main thing for me was like, I couldn't focus. I mean, it was like literally, I was like, I was here and not here at the same time. It was like in a trance all the time, really weak, starving all the time, despite eating, you know. And I thought, what the hell is going on? After 3 months, I said, forget it. You know, I just can't. If this is what life is going to be like for me, no, I'd rather keep my stomach pains and my bloating and my diarrhea at that point, you know. So I reintroduced the allergic foods, if you like, if the intolerances food, one by one, because that's how you're supposed to do it. When you exclude something, introduce it one by one. So I reintroduced, you know, soya seemed to be okay for a while. I reintroduced the dairy, that seemed to be okay. Thank God for that. Eggs was okay for a while. The only one that gave me problem was gluten. Even when I reintroduced that, I was still giving me problems, but you know, as I say, listen, I don't need to have gluten, because at the end of the day, I can have just rice and quinoa. You know, I don't have to have gluten-containing food, so I wasn't too worried about that. But I reintroduced the eggs, the dairy, and most of the stuff I was having before, and that was fine for a while. But my thyroid is all the time was getting worse. So I was going from, I started 100 micrograms of levothyroxine when they first removed my part of my thyroid in a lump, and by that point I was up to 225 micrograms. So it kept on increasing. The doctor kept on saying, well, your thyroid is not functioning properly. And you know, I said, listen, at the moment I was busy trying to stand up, you know, and trying to function in a possible way. Obviously that wasn't helping. The thyroid makes you exhausted as well. So, and all of a sudden I started having severe problem, but really severe problem with my stomach, and to the point where I ended up in A&E multiple times. And the last time I ended up in A&E was so bad when I collapsed. By then I was doing personal training. I collapsed in a gym while I was trying to do a class with severe pain. They had to take me to hospital, give me morphine, because they couldn't even take my blood pressure. It was that bad. And at the point, one of the doctors said, listen, there's nothing, you know, life-threatening here. However, you have a major problem with your stomach. You need to go to see a gastroenterologist. Cut a long story short, gastroenterologist told me, okay, you've got celiac disease. That's the first time I heard of celiac disease. I heard of gluten intolerance, although my doctor laughed at me every time I mentioned could be gluten intolerance in the past. So basically told me no gluten. I said, well, I haven't been having any gluten. I mean, I know that, you know. And when they said, well, I haven't been bad or past anything like that, it's just gluten-free food. And that's when I found out about cross-contamination, about sauces that contain gluten, you know, processed food contains gluten, you know, the kind of stuff. Actually, I've been having gluten without realizing, you know. So, and that's why it got to the point. And then I also understood celiac disease is autoimmune. So I started looking at autoimmune, and then I realized the thyroid could be autoimmune, particularly Hashimoto, because mine was underactive. And of course, then I managed to get diagnosis, and it was Hashimoto. So, but at this time, I was still on a vegetarian diet. Yeah. And then what I did a DNA test. A DNA test to tell me about what diet will work better for me, as well as, you know, my muscle composition, you know, from training purposes, what will work better for me. And I was surprised and not surprised by the test. One thing that didn't quite surprise me was the fact that my body doesn't cope very well with carbohydrates, meaning that I put on weight very quickly. with carbohydrates, and they don't fill me up. Yeah, I already worked that one out because I could have porridge and I would be starving an hour later, you know, and I could have gluten-free pasta and I was starving an hour later, like I didn't eat anything. So I knew something wasn't quite working for me there. The other things that came up on that was that my body would work quite well with fats, yeah, and I was advised on this particular test to stick to a low-carb diet. Now, low-carb diet, I mean, vegetarian diet is a high-carb diet. Vegan is even more high-carb diets, yeah. And I thought, okay, so all this time I'm following the wrong diet. I've become intolerant to just about everything on the diet. And in addition to that, when I looked into autoimmune, some of the main issues with autoimmune trigger foods are part of vegan and vegetarian diets. So gluten, dairy, soy. Lots of people have got issue with nightshade vegetables. People, nuts, very often nuts, eggs. Legumes are a problem because of lectins. You know, there's a lot of things that are linked to food that you have in vegan and vegetarian, which can trigger autoimmune. So at the point I realized, okay, what I did was wrong. So all these years, and I need to change this. And I could tell because I'd been feeling well for quite some time. Following this test, I went to I decided to become a qualifying with this particular company to understand genetic testing, and I went through a couple of learning days to get a certification, one of which was on nutrition, the other one was on exercise based on DNA testing, what the results are. And the person who was doing the nutrition one happened to be somebody who was celiac as well, and who was following a ketogenic diet. That's my first introduction to ketogenic diet. So basically on the DNA test was telling me you have to do a low carb diet. Yeah, so fruit and veggies, you know, and keep it low in grains and everything else, moderate fats and good proteins, yeah. And I already started to change things a little bit, cutting out some of the grains and having more vegetables and having more meat, you know, having more eggs and dairy, trying to get more on the protein side. When I went to this learning day, and this particular gentleman had celiac himself and he was on a ketogenic diet, and I was curious, you know. I said, well, and because that's a low carb diet, you know, low carb, higher fat, moderate protein, and I was curious about to find out what was going on with that. He explained it to me, and I said, okay, so can that be done on a vegetarian diet? And he said, it can, but it's not optimal. You really need to have some animal proteins there, and if you've got sensitivity to certain things like dairy and eggs, then you're going to be struggling. So I made a decision at a point that would introduce fish if I die. Still stay vegetarian, but have fish. That's what you call the pescetarian, some people, or pesco-vegetarian. So you have fish, but still no meat at the time. I introduced the fish, and the difference for me was huge. It was like somebody had given me extra fuel, and I thought, oh, I mean, it was really hard, I gotta be honest with you. The first time I had tried to have tuna, I almost puked. Just the smell of a tin was like, oh, you know, it was really, really strong. So I had to stick to things like blunt fish, like cod, hake, you know, so it didn't taste too fishy, because after, you know, 20 plus years of not having fish, it was just like, oh my god, it's disgusting. Yeah. So it took a long time to introduce the fish, but I introduced it, and the impact on my energy levels, the impact on my strength in the gym as well. So, oh wow, and I felt better. And the thyroid was still struggling at 225 micrograms a day of medication, so it still wasn't optimal. However, my bloating went, lots of my gastric problems went, diarrhea, constipation, they started getting better. So, oh my god, this works. So, and I thought, this is brilliant. So I was ketogenic for the first time I came with ketogenic diet was 5 years ago. Yeah, so I was ketogenic for the best part about 4 years, and then I started to notice that fish wasn't filling me up. anymore. And by then I progressed to salmon, which, believe me, when you've been vegetarian for 20 years, eating salmon is like, whoa, you know, it's gagging, literally. You get gag reflex, not nice, because it's really fishy, yeah. But I understood I needed omega-3s, you know, even managed to include mackerel, which is, again, is super strong in smell and taste and flavor. But I got used to that, yeah. And I introduced other good fats like avocado. So the ketogenic diet is basically you have 25 grams of carbohydrate maximum per day, and that's based on vegetables. Yeah, so you're not having potatoes, you're not having pasta or anything like that. It's literally ideally mainly green vegetables. So you'll have your broccoli, your spinach, you can have cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, typically ones, kale if you want. You can have asparagus, zucchini, that kind of stuff, yeah. So that's your 25 grams really of carbohydrates. Then you have a high amount of fat, and this is like I'm not talking fat from pies, yeah, I'm talking fat from good sources. So your avocado, your oily fish, you know, you can have meat. If you, at the time I wasn't eating meat, I was just eating fish. Your eggs, your dairy, if you haven't got a problem with that. Nuts and seeds, you got to be careful because they were quite high carbohydrates, so you need to make sure you stay within that. And then moderate protein, yeah. So that's carbohydrate, that's ketogenic diet. And I did wonderful. I mean, I thought I found the holy grail because I felt so much better. My body works better, started losing weight, and my thyroid started improving. So all of a sudden, my blood tests were showing high thyroid. So I started decreasing the medication. So I went from 225 micrograms of medication a day down to 125. I mean, that's a huge jump. You know, when it took me the best part of, you know, 10-15 years to go from 100 to 225, in the space of just a couple of years, I was down at almost half my medication. And that's purely through a ketogenic diet. Yeah, because the foods that I was eating were not good for me. I had autoimmune in the background. And with autoimmune, as I said, the foods you have to avoid are your gluten, your soya, your dairy, nightshade vegetables, which are potatoes, peppers, tomatoes. You got, but you can have sweet potatoes, by the way, spices, yeah, stuff like that. Aubergines, those are the ones you had to avoid. And of course I was having them when I was vegetarian all the time because I love them. And dairy, some people are affected that, some are not. Some people have got a problem with nuts, people have got a problem with eggs. I had a major problem with eggs because I love them, but my body didn't. So I went ketogenic, yeah, and that worked very well. My thyroid was happy, but I noticed that I had the problem with the fish wasn't filling me up. Even the salmon, which is really filling fish, you know, it's got the omega-3 fats that fill you up. You know, if I was to have a normal portion of salmon, even with a huge amount of vegetables, yeah, no, I was hungry, you know, and I was eating lots of calories, yeah, more calories than I was eating when I was on a vegetarian diet, and I started getting hungry, and I thought, oh, something's still not wrong, it's still not right here, something's going wrong. And what I also noticed, I noticed that I started getting a reaction with certain foods, like with eggs. My main concern with eggs was, I love eggs, I mean, I could have loads of eggs, but I found that they didn't fill me up anymore, and I thought, okay, that's got to be a sign that something's not right there. And then eventually, if I was having eggs every day for breakfast, I started getting rashes, yeah, very itchy rash all the time in my joints, everywhere. They got unbearable, really unbearable. And I thought, okay, that's a reaction, so that something's not quite right with that. And then I heard about a study that a American orthopedic surgeon called Dr. Sean Baker was going to run about this carnivore diet, and invited anyone, especially those with autoimmune or diabetes and things like that, to take part in this study, just eating a carnivore diet for 3 months. And he wanted to try to collect information from everyone, you know, to prove that can help with autoimmune and even diabetes, type 2 diabetes and so forth. And I thought, you know, it's carnivore. I mean, that could be what I need, the missing link for me. But I wasn't eating meat at the time. Yeah, I was still doing ketogenic with fish, but no meat at all. So I made the decision. That was a huge decision for me. I needed to try to include meat as part of my ketogenic diet first, to see how I cope with that, because I didn't know. I didn't touch meat for, by that point I didn't touch meat for almost 30 years. Yeah. So I did not know how my body would cope with that. Would it block me completely? You know, would it give me massive reaction? I did not know. And even the thought, this was still mental, there was this block for me about, animals, ethical, hurting animals. And I was on holiday actually. My husband was there, took a picture of me, could not believe, that's the first time she eating meat. My son had never seen me eating meat. My son has always known me as a vegetarian, yeah. So when you saw me eating meat, it was, saw your Facebook, it was like, oh my God, what's going on here? So even he was shocked. So I had meat, and I'm not going to lie to you, the first 4 days at meat on holiday, I was blocked. Completely blocked. I think my digestive system said, what the hell is going on here? I mean, protein is notoriously difficult to digest. It's hard to digest and requires a lot more work. And also when you are vegetarian, especially if you got thyroid problem, you tend to be lacking in stomach acid. So, and you got little stomach acid, your chance of digesting the protein really is a lot harder. Yeah. So the first 4 days, I had the meat the first time. I thought, oh my God, this tastes really nice. I thought there was a bit of guilt there, but I said, oh my God, this tastes, and it was simple stuff, just some chicken, nothing too complex, but yes, I got blocked for 4 days. I couldn't go to the toilet at all. I went from one extreme to the other, and I had to get something to help me go. But once I went, then that was it. And then my body started going regular. So, oh, okay. But the biggest difference for me, and I was shocked, the energy levels. I give, for somebody who suffers from underactive thyroid, I'm used to low energy levels. Yeah, this is what comes with the territory, with underactive thyroid and Hashimoto. This was like somebody had given me a massive injection of adrenaline. I was boom, ready to go for everything. And my strength, the concentration levels, everything. But I had felt 100 times better when I went ketogenic. And I thought, this is it. This is what works for me. When I was adding meat, and I was still ketogenic, but adding meat, it was like, oh my God, it's like somebody's injecting huge amount of energy into me, after initial 4 days of constipation. And I said, oh my God, what's going on? So I was shocked. I literally completely forgotten what it felt like to eat meat internally, energy-wise. Because as I said, I'd been vegetarian since the age of 17. Yeah, so I wasn't raised as a vegetarian. I was raised as eating everything. In Italy, you eat everything. There's no restrictions. And I totally forgotten what it feels like. So I was absolutely amazed. And then when I heard about the study, the carnivore study, I said, oh, let me try that. I just want to see whether it's going to make a difference. Because listen, you do it for 3 months. If it doesn't work, fine, go back to being keto with meat. Yeah, so it wasn't, I always believe you got to try something. If you haven't tried it, you don't know. If it doesn't work, if it works, hey, you just improve your life. Yeah, so you got nothing to lose. So I went on that, and on that you have to be very restrictive. So no coffee, no tea, no plant food. Basically, it's just animal food, any type of meat, any type of fish. You had to cook with animal food, whether it was butter, whether it was tallow, whether it was duck fat. It doesn't matter, but no plant food in any shape or form. I was super strict because I didn't want to screw up the study for somebody else, because this was a study being done by somebody else, and I want to make sure I didn't screw it up for them. Yeah, so I was super strict for 3 months. And the first thing I noticed was incredible was that I just started dropping a lot of body fat. Now by then I wasn't fat by a long stretch. It was the right weight for myself. But to give you an indication how it worked, when I was a vegetarian, I had to stay around 1100 to 1200 calories a day. The moment I went above that, I would start putting on a lot of weight. When I became ketogenic, my threshold was about 1400 calories. So, 200 to 300 calories increase a day, and I was maintaining. Yeah. When I went carnivore, 1400 calories a day, it was not cut. I was dropping body fat so quickly. At one point, I went down to 13% body fat. And I wasn't happy. I was happy to lose fat, but not that much and that quickly. So I got a bit worried, but I didn't feel hungry. I was super energetic. So I said, okay, I need more calories. You know, I need to have more meat. So I increased my meat amount, and I got to a point about 1800 calories a day, and that helped me maintain my weight. Yeah, so this goes to show, you know, how things work. Now, so I did that, the 3-month study, and it worked so well for me, both from energy perspective, from, you know, for the first time, I was able to do, to actually not needing to eat 3 meals a day. When I was ketogenic, I was following like an intermittent fasting program, because I was able to not have to eat 3 meals a day. I was eating 2 meals a day, and it normally would be breakfast and lunch. So we finished eating by 4 p.m. So like I would do like 12 hours fast, 12 hour eat, or 14 hours fast, 10 hours eat, and I was quite okay with that. When I started eating just meat, so on a carnivore diet, my hunger just dropped down, right down. And I will wake up in the morning, I'm not hungry. So if you're not hungry, don't eat. Why do you have to eat if you're not hungry? No, you don't eat just because it's breakfast. So I said, okay, let's try not eat and see what happens. And energy going throughout the day, didn't have to eat until lunchtime, so which is what I'm doing now. So just 1 meal a day, and it's not a forced thing. I don't feel hungry. If I feel hungry, trust me, I will eat. Yeah, because I know that I need it. And it was amazing. It was so good that I decided to extend the 3 months further, because I said, listen, this was a trial, but damn, this is feeling so good. And also I did blood tests, by the way, because everything I do, I test my blood, because I needed to know what's going on with my thyroid. I needed to find out what was going on with my other hormones, my liver, you know, my kidneys and all the kind of stuff. Cholesterol was a concern for me as well on a carnivore diet. Oh my God, you know, because we were all told that saturated fats are bad for you, they give you high cholesterol, which now we know is bull. Yeah, but it's taking this time to get there. When I was ketogenic, I never had a problem with high cholesterol. Yeah, let's start from that. So my HDL has always been super high, which is the good cholesterol, but that's because I train all the time. Yeah. And have good fats in my diet as well. Triglycerides have always been fairly low. LDL is the one that started going up when I was ketogenic, which is supposed to be the bad cholesterol. But we know that you look at the total cholesterol, the ratio between total cholesterol and HDL to determine whether you're at risk of heart disease, which I'm not because my HDL is super high. And also now you want to look at triglycerides versus HDL to find out whether there is a real risk of heart disease, which I've never had a problem with that anyway. So, but I noticed when I was ketogenic, my LDL started going up, and I was keeping an eye on that, especially when I went carnivore, and kept an eye on all my autoimmune antibodies, especially for Hashimoto, which have always been up and down. Yeah, so there's 2 autoimmune antibodies for Hashimoto. One will be raised, the other one will be 5. They both raised, you know, and depending, they kept on changing up and down. And when I did my blood test at the end of 3 months, I did them before and at the end of 3 months, there was very interesting information there. First of all, my triglycerides were the lowest they'd ever been. My HDL went to 2.79, which is well above the range, which is good because that's good cholesterol. My LDL was still as elevated as when it was with ketogenic, yeah, but my triglycerides were actually lower, was 0.63 millimole per liter, so is very, very low, yeah. Now, for the first time ever since I've been aware of Hashimoto, my Hashimoto antibodies, both of them, had gone in the normal range. What it means means that the inflammation and the autoimmune response in my body that was destroying my thyroid had been put in remission. Now, that was the first time. And not only that, the other things that I found out, again, that was totally out all the time, was my liver enzymes. Now, my liver enzymes tend to be raised, yeah, especially AST. And that I haven't got any liver disease, but it's a known issue with thyroid. Again, Hashimoto autoimmune, particularly the liver enzymes be a bit raised, and sometimes you need help with a milk thistle to help your liver, you know, and obviously that's why the thyroid is a problem, because the conversion from active form of thyroxine, so inactive to active, happens in the liver. If the liver is not working very well, because you already got you're inflamed with autoimmune and everything else, then your thyroid is going to suffer. So hi Shay. I looked at the liver enzyme, and again, for the first time in a long time, my liver enzymes were normal. So, and I thought, oh damn it, this is bloody working. So, and I decided, okay, I'm going to stick with this. I'm going to stick with this diet. And I kept at it for another 3 months. I was carnivore for 6 months. And then what happened? My thyroid started struggling. Yeah, I started getting symptoms of an underactive thyroid. My blood test came back with the TSH was starting to scream. Yeah, so it's going up. That means it's becoming underactive again. And I thought, oh, then maybe my body does need, you know, some vegetables in there. Maybe it's my thyroid needs, because bear in mind that while normal people have 2 thyroid glands, I only have 20% of one left. The 80% was removed by the doctors 20 plus years ago when there was a goiter there. The other one was completely destroyed by Hashimoto. That's the autoimmune attacking the thyroid. Yeah, so I have to be on medication for the rest of my life. There is no way I can come off medication, because 20% of one thyroid will not produce enough hormones anyway. So I thought, well, you know, I have to bite the bullet, accept that's what's going to be, and reintroduce vegetables. So obviously I was looking at selenium, I was looking at iodine, so sea vegetables, lots of green leafy vegetables, so trying to, you know, bolster my thyroid. And that made no difference. Not only did it make a difference, I started getting IBS symptoms. You know, the runs came back, and I said, what the hell is going on here? So I looked into that, and that's when I first discovered about T3. At the time I didn't know, because of course my GP never told me that, you know, is you know, you could have a problem with T3. They can give me all the thyroxine in the world, and that will not work if I can't convert that thyroxine into the active form of the T3 that happens in the liver. So when I looked into that, I found out, I did private blood test, and I found that my T3 was really low. And at the time also started suffering from menopause, you know, early stage of menopause. So my body was not having a good time at the time. Yeah. So I went to an NHS endocrinologist who told me, you know, 90% of people with underactive thyroid, they got Hashimoto, just live with it. And T3 is of no consequence. Now, when she told me that, I knew that she was not good. Yeah, because you look, there's studies everywhere that says that T3 is your active hormone. There's no point in giving me T4. If I can, T4 body can't use it. That's the level of thyroxine they give you. If I can't convert it, my body can use it, and it's pointless. You can give me all the medication you want, and it's not going to have any impact. That's why you still get symptoms with underactive thyroid. So I decided to go privately. I decided to go outside the NHS, because then I found out the reason NHS don't test for T3 is simply because they can't give you the T3 medication, because it's too expensive and it's not approved. Yeah, so they don't like to prescribe it. So I went privately. I went to an endocrinologist who worked under NHS, but also privately. And privately, she could do the stuff NHS would not allow her to do. She tested me for everything, the antibodies, everything, my hormones and everything. And to cut a long story short, my T3 was rock bottom. She told me she's got no chance in hell of getting this thyroid working properly if you don't get T3 medication. So she put me on, changed my medication on a combined T4 and T3 medication rather than just T4. And again, the difference, boy, I mean, night and day, people. That's why I say, please, 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 if you got underactive thyroid symptoms and your doctor tells you that your blood tests under the chest are normal, but you feel like crap, I'm telling you, your T3 is the problem. The doctor will never test you for that. It's too expensive, and they can't give you the pill for that. So they tell you it's in your head, they tell you you're depressed, they tell you it's a virus, they tell you everything but what it is. Yeah, so test that T3, and I can guarantee you 90% of the time, not only your chances your T3 is too low, but you might even have autoimmune in the background. And if you don't fix your diet, your thyroid is gone. I had this for 20 years. Had I known this information 20 years ago, I would still have my left thyroid. Don't have it anymore. Yeah, I know better now. So I'm going to try to save a little bit I've got left on that side at the moment. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I was put on the medication. My God, the difference night and day. But I still getting these runs, you know, and I couldn't work out what's going on, but really bad. I mean, I don't want to go into much details, but let's just say it was. And I noticed it was in the afternoon after I eaten, you know, my main meal. And I thought by the time, you know, as I said, I had gone back to eating vegetables. So I was having meat, fish, you know, and vegetables. Yeah, so again, it was low carb ketogenic version. So no grains, nothing else that could have caused that. No gluten, absolutely. No soya, none of that stuff. No eggs, you know, none of that stuff. So, and these runs came back and I couldn't work out what the hell was going on here. And then I noticed that when I was having spinach, it was particularly bad. So I thought, okay, so then it's got to be something in the vegetables. So what I decided to do, and again, this is why I say you have to check things all the time. You have to reassess your position. You have to write things down in symptoms after you eat specific food to find out what food is causing the symptoms. I said, okay, the only time I felt 100% was when I was carnivore. And the only reason I came off a carnivore diet after 6 months was because my thyroid was suffering. Now I'm on combined medication, so my T3 is supported by the medication. I said, okay, let me try and go back on carnivore. Take out all the veggies and see if these things stop. And in addition to that, at the time I was being monitored at the hospital for some abnormal figures in my autoimmune antibodies, and they basically told me you got raised antibodies for 3 other autoimmune disorders. One of them is lupus, which is a bastard. You know, I really don't want to get that because that's really nasty. And when they told me that, after the fact I was getting these runs, I said, listen, the only time everything was controlled was under a carnivore, so I'm going to go back on that and see what happens. Well, within 2 days I'm going back on a carnivore, so just meat, fish, of course, you know, not eggs, but I was having dairy, yeah, still. After a few days going back on the carnivore diet, the run stopped completely. Yes, they did. So I was shocked because before that I'd been ketogenic for 4 years and having tons of vegetables, you know, was never an issue. So it was very interesting for me, but I said, hey, you know, this is what works and that's what we're going to go with. And I've been carnivore ever since. So for me, that is made a huge difference. I've done blood tests again to check my autoimmune antibodies. My liver is back to normal. My cholesterol again is really, really good. Very high HDL, very low triglycerides. LDL, we know with when you have a low carb, high fat diet, LDL raises, but that is not the problem. It's triglycerides you got to worry about. And my autoimmune markers for Hashimoto's are back in range as well. But the things that has shocked me going back on carnivore the second time was this. When I went to see the private endocrinologist and she put me on T3 medication for my thyroid, she told me your hormones, mainly estrogen, testosterone, progesterone and DHEA, which is the adrenal hormones, are rock bottom. She said, you are in the early stages of menopause, which I had worked out myself already, although I had no symptoms at all of menopause, but I worked out that because of your period stop, so you know, the something's not quite right, yeah. And she said, we need to get you on hormone replacement therapy because if your hormones are low, your thyroid, even with the right medication, will not come up. It is drugging your thyroid down. So she decided to put me on. I was very adamant. I didn't want to get crap in my body because I was trying to fix it, yeah. But this lady specialized in bioidentical hormones, which are made plant-based, and they're basically made to measure to what you specifically need. So if you need X amount of testosterone, you need X amount of estrogen, they're made to measure. And they're plant-based, so they're not synthetic crap made in a lab, everybody with the same same dosage like the NHS does. Yeah. So I said, okay, I'm happy to give it a shot, because if I need, that's the only way to fix my thyroid. That's what I need to do. So I did that. And I've been taking the hormones now for a year, yeah, together with the new medication for the thyroid. And then in the last blood test I did, which is fairly recent, was about 3 weeks ago, because I started getting symptoms, I started not sleeping at night. Now, to me, I sleep like a log. I mean, the moment I hit the pillow, I'm gone. Yeah. So when I started getting restless at night, is normally indication either thyroid is going overactive or something is not very right. I was getting symptoms of PMS, you know, premenstrual syndrome. So, you know, the symptoms you get before your period is due. Bear in mind, I'm menopausal, so I'm getting, so I knew it was either estrogen that was out or the thyroid was out, maybe a combination of that, progesterone. So I redid all my full blood count to check the liver and everything was fine, my full thyroid check and hormones check, and lo and behold, my thyroid is slightly overactive, but very slightly. The T3 is where it should be. The T4 is where it should be. It's just the thyroid stimulating hormone that is shown as overactive. So it's not usually overactive. But my testosterone and my estrogen, I mean, I've got the estrogen of somebody who's in normal cycle periods, not menopausal at all of a sudden. And my testosterone is well high, far too high for a woman, which is not a good thing. Yeah. So I was, oh my God. so what I've done, completely come off the HRT medication, completely, remove it completely, it's out immediately. And I've also reduced my thyroid medication. Now, 1 day of a week, I don't take it at all. And it's within the space of a week, 2, my sleep's gone back to normal. Now, never, ever, ever I would have thought I would have come off hormone replacement therapy. Because the endocrinologist told me, you know, you're almost so low, you need the support, especially with your thyroid. I've come off them completely. Yeah. So doesn't mean that's how it's going to end. I don't know. At the moment, I don't need them. So I need to keep an eye on them to make sure they don't go too low again. But I'm feeling great. You know, so, and this is the second time I've been on carnivore diet. I have no intention of coming off it at all, because everything is where it should be. My autoimmune is under control. I don't need support for my other hormones despite being menopausal. To give you an indication, I've in the gym, I've increased my weights by about 40%. I've got a lot more energy. I don't, my concentration is 100 times better. Yeah. I sleep great at night now. So this is what's working for me. Yeah. So, and most importantly, the main markers, you know, the HbA1c, which is diabetes marker, my cholesterol marker, my liver function, my kidney function, all of those are great. Yeah, all my hormones are great. So what I'm trying to say is that this is what works for me. So the bad side of carnivore is this, that you're only eating animal food. Yeah, so animal-based food. So it's very restrictive. Yeah, so what do I do as a personal trainer? What do I do? I'm a nutrition therapist and a personal trainer. I have clients who are vegan. I've got clients who are vegetarian. I've got clients who eat the crappy diet, and you know, I put them right on that. I've got clients who are diabetics. I've got clients who have got autoimmune. I've got clients who eat ketogenic, and none of my clients though eat carnivore. Why is that? Because it's very demanding in respect of controlling. Yeah, you can only have animal foods, animal from the animal world. So any type of meat, any type of fish, any type of animal fat, eggs, dairy, they're all fine. Now, but it's very restrictive. So lots of people struggle with that because they think, oh, I want to have a little bit of dessert. I want a bit of wine every now and again. So my job as a personal trainer and as a nutrition therapy is not to push my opinion. For me, the carnivore diet is perfect. I've got no intention of coming off it. It's controlled everything. It's got me off hormone medication. I cannot fault it. But funny enough, after 20 years of vegetarianism and veganism in the middle, I now I'm looking forward from a bloody piece of meat, you know, every single day. I'm telling you, is and I don't even think about vegetable. All I want is meat. You know, my body's craving meat, and I'm loving every single meal I have. But doesn't mean that that works for everyone. No. So as a personal trainer and nutritional therapist, there are two things that I need to look at. Well, three things. Goal. What goal my clients have. Yeah, is it weight loss? Is it improving their health? Like for me, it was improving my health. Fitness, you know, whatever it might be. Stop disease, the diabetics, whatever might be the case. The next thing I need to look at is their own personal beliefs and their religious beliefs. Is somebody's vegan because for the religious purposes, or because it's a choice? Who am I to say, get lost? You can't be vegan. That is bull. I'm sorry. Yeah. As a personal trainer and as a nutrition therapist, I have to find what works for them. And I have to adjust it. And I have to make it work for them, for their religious belief, for the personal belief, and for the lifestyle. Otherwise, it's not sustainable. Any diet that's not sustainable for the person is not worth doing. Is carnivore diet sustainable for me? Absolutely. I'm loving it. My body's thriving on it, so absolutely no reason not to do it. Is a vegan diet sustainable for me? No. I felt like shit. Yeah, I literally could barely stand up when I did that. Vegetarian diet, I thought I was fine, but left me with 2 autoimmune disorders, multiple intolerances. Yeah, it doesn't work for me. Yeah, so that's what I did. What it works for me, and the vegetarian diet, you know, what are the pros and cons for vegetarian diet? Now, vegetarian diet is a bit more balanced than vegan. Now, if I got clients who's vegan and they insist they want to be in vegan diet because of religious belief or their own personal belief, I've got no problem with that. But I tell them one thing: you must take B12 supplements. The vegan diet is not balanced. There is no B12 in the plant world. Only the animal food contains B12. We cannot live without B12. It's that simple. We need that. Yeah. So you want to be vegan? Fine. No problem at all. You need to take a good B12 supplement, because otherwise you're screwed. Another thing that's a problem with the vegan diet is that vegans tend to eat low fat. Yeah. Because when you high carbs, you put on weight very quickly. Yeah, that's the bottom line. Even if it's healthy carbs, which is not a lot of vegan have a lot of processed food, I've got to say. But even if it's healthy carbs, grains, legumes, and so forth, you put on weight because it's too much carbs. Yeah. So what they do, they go low fat to compensate for that. Now, there are certain vitamins, namely A, D, E, K. Your body cannot absorb them if you haven't got enough fat in your diet. Vitamin D, without vitamin D, you die. Vitamin K is your clotting vitamin. What happens if your blood can't clot properly? You know what's going to happen. You bleed to death. Yeah. So understand that if you choose to be vegan, you need to have an understanding of how to combine food, how to eat healthily. Yeah. And you need to have fat in your diet. You know, so you know where you can get the fat. You get fat from the nuts. You get fat from the oil, olive oil. You know, avocado, wow, is powerhouse of nutrients and good fats. Yeah, so there's no excuse. Yeah, so my job as a personal trainer is, if anybody wants to be any particular diet for their own purposes, because they feel better on that, my job is to say, okay, let's have a look how that's going to work for you. Yeah, you want to be vegan, these are the risks of being vegan. Yeah, and this is what you need to combine to stay healthy in vegan diet. Vegetarian, okay, are you a vegetarian eating eggs and dairy? Or you're pesca vegetarian, you know, which vegetarian are you? And then combine that, make it work for what the person is. Are you ketogenic? Great. Okay, ketogenic. So let's have a look how it works. Again, ketogenic people, some of them have dairy. I mean, there are bad ketogenic people out there. I mean, you read some stuff. There's 2 camps in the ketogenic world. One is you hit your protein goal, which is important. Your body needs protein, and then you use the fat as a lever to help you control your body. Yeah, so how much muscle, how much fat you have. Yeah, So you have moderate protein, yeah. You don't go overboard with the fat, and of course low carbohydrate. And then you got the ketogenic, they call it lazy keto, just stuffing butter, cream in your coffee and all that kind of stuff. Eat tons of dairy, tons of fat, take extra MCT, which is the oil from coconut, to add more fat. You're going 80-90% fat. No, come on, guys. We have to, if you want to do ketogenic, you do it properly, or you don't do it. Yeah, because we have to be realistic with this. We have to eat food. Stop drinking your calories. This bulletproof coffee. Come on. Since when you need to put butter and cream in a coffee? Yeah, just have a good piece of fish, oily fish, or a higher fat piece of meat. Yeah, that's healthier for you, not bloody butter and cream in coffee. No, come on, you gotta be balanced. Yeah, so let's be realistic with this kind of thing. So again, ketogenic again is restrictive. Yeah, so and it takes a while to adapt to being ketogenic coming from a high carb diet. Is more sustainable than the carbohydrate, than the carnivore diet and the vegan diet for the matter, because vegan is really restrictive. But you go through the adaptation phase when you get the keto flu symptoms. Literally, you feel like you flu, you feel weak, you get headaches, because you're detoxing from the sugars and the high amount of carbohydrates. Once you've gone through that, you feel like heaven. The energy comes in, the clarity comes in. A ketogenic diet was initially devised for epilepsy, to treat epilepsy. Yeah, so we know that's very good for the brain. So think Alzheimer, think dementia. That's the kind of things that will be good for. Yeah, and then of course the carnivore is even more restrictive. So what I tell people, is this: regardless of what your beliefs are, the one thing you have to do, we have an epidemic of diabetes. We have an epidemic of heart disease. What is causing that? What's causing that is, number one, high carbohydrate diets. I'm sorry, this is where it boils down to. Yeah. When I say high carbohydrate diet, I'm talking specifically refined carbohydrates. So your white carbohydrate, the white bread, the white pasta, white potato, white rice. But also I'm talking about fructose, sucrose, sugars. Yeah. Lots of fruit, lots of processed foods with a lot of crappy sugars in there. Cereals full of sugars, but also the normal cereal. Wheat is very bad for you, causes a lot of damage in your gut. High carbohydrate diet. The bad fats. Now, the bad fats are not the saturated fat. Yeah, the bad fats are the trans fats that you get, guess what, in processed food. Yeah, so those are the very bad fats. So if you cut out processed food and sugar from your diet, you're 50% there. You already improve your health by 50%. That's it. Yeah, that is that simple, literally. Now vegetable oils, refined vegetable oils. So we're talking about rapeseed oil, canola oil, sunflower, safflower. Those kind of oils are now getting a lot of attention out there with studies, and they've been linked to increase in diabetes because increased insulin resistance, but also coronary heart disease. So it's not about the saturated fat, it's actually about the bad vegetable oils. Yeah, olive oil is fine, avocado oil is fine, hemp seed oil, that kind of thing they're fine. So just not all of them are bad. And then of course processed foods are the big problem. So my advice to you guys is, if you want to be healthy, you have to lower your carbohydrates in your diet. Yeah, eat as much as possible gluten-free. So go for rice, go for quinoa if you're gonna have grains. Yeah, natural grains. Don't go for processed food like pasta, like bread. Oh, absolutely cut those out, please. Even gluten-free bread, please. The crap they put inside that is even worse than the actual bread containing gluten. Yeah. So we need to reduce that, and it's very easy to go low carb. You don't have to get ketogenic. So if you limit your carbohydrate from vegetables, some starches, so you can have like sweet potatoes ideally rather than white potatoes, because white potatoes are high glycemic, but sweet potatoes, yeah. Some tubers, you know, parsnips, carrots, all kind of stuff, yeah. Squash, pumpkin, those kind of things, fine. You can have some lentils, beans if you want. Those are kind of carbohydrates you can have if you haven't got any problems with thyroid or autoimmune, because otherwise they're out. And then you have meat or fish, provided you can eat them, yeah. Healthy meat or fish, not processed stuff. And then fruit in moderation. You know, it's because fruits, fructose, sugars, they all start kicking up the insulin resistance, and then it's now linked to both cardiovascular disease and diabetes, yeah. So low carb is my advice for you. Aim initially, why don't you try to go for 100 grams of carbohydrate a day? Most people will have 200 to 300 grams of carbohydrate a day. We don't need that. We're sitting down all day long, you know. We don't need that amount of carbohydrates. So have reduce it, 150, maybe start having it, yeah. 100 grams of carbohydrate, 150. The rest is protein and good fats, yeah. See how you feel. You go through the adaptation phase, but that your health will benefit, you know, 1,000-fold. Whether you want to do it based on vegan or based on vegetarian or based on carnivore, doesn't matter. Start reducing your carbohydrate. That will, your health will benefit. And then if you eat meat, you haven't got anything against meat or fish, I will strongly advise you just to try for 1 month carnivore diet. Why am I saying that? Because carnivore diet, at the bottom of it, is a exclusion diet, yeah. So if you eat just animal food for 1 month, that's all it takes. First of all, you get to see how you feel. Now, if you feel better, then it's good for you, yeah. If you feel worse, you can stop it, yeah. But give it a month, because I said there's an adaptation phase, you know, when your body's got to adapt to not having carbohydrate. Because carnivore diet is no carbohydrate, well, very little, because meat doesn't contain huge amount of carbohydrate. So try for a month. But what happens, because you exclude everything else apart from animal food, when you then finish the month, you say, okay, well, yeah, I felt better, but it's too restrictive for me. I like my veggies. Great. When you introduce your veggies, now if those particular vegetables don't work for you, you will get symptoms. And that's what is brilliant about carnivore diet, because it will actually highlight any problems that you were not aware of, because you ate that food so often and so regularly and so much of it that the body adjusted to that. Although there was inflammation going on in the background, the body learned to deal with it, yeah. But when you exclude that food from your diet for a whole month, if you decide to try carnivore, and then you introduce, it could be a vegetable. Look at me, I introduced perfectly good vegetables, healthy, spinach, broccoli, cauliflower, totally healthy. There's nothing wrong with them, and all of a sudden I had massive attack of diarrhea, yeah. So when you introduce them and you start getting symptoms, then you know what that food is really doing to your body. And then maybe some of them you introduced, you're perfectly good with them. Some of them you introduce them and they may have a reaction, but not all the time you eat them. That means you got some tolerance and you need to just decrease the amount you have, not have them all the time. And some of them you introduce them, every single time you have them, you have a massive reaction. Those need to come out of your diets, because those are damaging, because inflammation causes disease, yeah. So that's what I want to say now. And one last thing I want to say, please, I want to address the elephant in the room, because there's been a lot of propaganda about global warming, yeah. Now, global warming, we've known about it for decades. I mean, I remember many years ago, you know, we were told you have to decrease the CFC gases and all these gases that was confusing, aerosol and all kind of stuff. It's damaging the ozone, and, you know, countries got together to agree a way of reducing CFC gases, although some countries like China are not playing ball, apparently, you know. So, and we know there's a global warming and everything, part of industrialization, agriculture, all that is causing all of that. Recently, and this is really, I've got to be honest with you, this is about, you know, trying to exploit global warming to push a specific agenda. Now, somebody's decided that cows' farts are the main cause of global warming. I mean, can you understand? Can you even hear how ridiculous the whole idea is? The cow's farts cause, because they issue methane, is damaging to the atmosphere, are the main reason for global warming. And therefore, if we everybody stops eating cows or, you know, or reduces drastically the consumption of meat, then that's it, we save the planet. Now, first of all, let me explain something to you. I looked into that because I said, oh, 1 minute, you know, it's no good fixing my health if the planet is gonna finish, and then you know, we're all finished anyway. Yeah, I looked into that, and there's the percentages of what's causing global warming varies by 1-2% here and there, but not usually, from all different sources. I also look at NASA, what they reckon is the problem. Yeah, so at all different sources, and the bottom line is this. Livestock, the damage that livestock does to the planet amounts to about, altogether, that's chicken, pig, everything, yeah, cows, everything, about 8%. Agriculture, so that, you know, crops of corn, rice, you know, digging the fields to grow crops and stuff like that, it's 9%. But, you know, even put it together, that's 17%. Yeah. So by my reckoning, 17% is not 100%. I mean, my math are not brilliant, but even I can work out 17% is not the total. But even if you just use the livestock, 8%, where's the other 92% coming from? I mean, you can stop all livestock in the world. What is 8% difference is gonna do? Yeah, where's all coming from? The greenhouse gases is all the fossil fuels that we use in industry, transportation, electricity. All those industries are what are causing the problem. Yeah, so let's stop exploiting paranoia about the global warming and twisting the figures so that we can you know, set out an agenda and tell people, oh, you know, you stop killing animals because we don't need the animals anyway, because they're going to destroy the earth anyway. Yeah, so please, I mean, this is no better than ISIS trying to push their way, trying to push their ideas. What they do, they bomb, they kill, yeah, and they claim it because they're proud of it, and so absolutely, you know, get them out of this planet. You know, they got no right to live, as far as I'm concerned. When you want to believe in that, that's what you believe in, fine, but you do not kill other people for the religious purposes to try to push you away. That is never justified. However, think about it. When there is an organization who is funded by millionaires, vegan, who is using the money that she's got, position and financial strength, to try to push a diet who is mainly plant-based, which is not just the issue that's plant-based, because I've got nothing against vegan, but is actually based on grains. And we know how damaging the grains are to the human body, especially gluten and stuff like that. And it promotes, in addition to that, tells you know, polyunsaturated fats are good, you know, rather saturated fat, tells you can only have 7 grams of meat a day. That's what they're promoting. Yeah, soya promoted highly. Soya is one of the most processed foods, really, really bad for most women, estrogen dominance, thyroid problems, autoimmune problems. You know, this is pure propaganda. Yeah, the current issue with diabetes is that we have a diet based on high carbohydrate diets, yeah, based on the wrong type of fat and high fat, very low protein. That in the last 20 years has produced triple the diabetes in the UK and across the world. The diet, the report made by these so-called experts, by the way, none of these experts did a control study, yeah, which is peer reviewed. This is all based on epidemiology. So they send questionnaires out to people, and they say, in the last 6 months, how many cups of meat did you eat? I mean, most people can't remember what they ate yesterday, and nobody measured meats in cups anyway. You know, so that's kind of what funded this study and what the result, the data from this study comes to. So you know how inaccurate that is, yeah. But even past that, this, you know, this is promoting a diet that is even worse than what we got now, because it's promoting the refined vegetable oils that now we know they're also linked to heart disease and high cholesterol. It's promoting a high carbohydrate diet, lots of grains, yeah. It's promoting legumes, stuff like that, which we know are very problematic for lots of people with autoimmune and thyroid disorders, yeah. And most importantly, is reducing the amount of protein in the diet. Now, the body is made of protein. Protein is the building block for the body. Yeah, your hair, your skin, your nails, your bones, not just your muscle, your bones, your hormones require protein to function, to be built. Yeah, so you take protein to 7 grams a day. That is a teaspoon. That's the fastest way to diabetes, to heart disease, and to extinction. If the powers that be, government mainly, start accepting that report from so-called experts who didn't actually do any real study, controlled study, nothing, yeah, it's all based on wishy-washy figures, yeah, and of course underlying interest, yeah. We take on board the diet, you know, the damage it's gonna do, it's the end of a planet will not be our concern. We will never get to see the end of a planet. At this moment in time, the generation being born today, the current young generation, we already know that if things keep the way they are, with the current diet recommendation we have now, they will not live to past what we live. Yeah, they may get to 50 if they're lucky, even 60 potentially if they're really lucky, crippled with disease, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, heart disease, all the kind of stuff. Yeah, and that's based on a diet which is marginally better than the recommended diet, the Lancet Eat diet, marginally better, yeah, because at least it gives you more protein, allows you for more protein in there, yeah. So imagine what's going to happen if the powers that be decided to back this stupid, I'm sorry I gotta say, it's a stupid report, yeah. So it's that I can only listen, we it just doesn't bear thinking, yeah. So I want to do this live for a very simple reason. As I said, I'm carnivore. None of my clients are carnivores, because when I advise my clients, I advise them on a diet and exercise regime that fits the belief, fits their choices, and fits the lifestyle. My specific beliefs on what works for me do not affect what I advise my clients. This is how it should be. You want to be vegan, vegan diet works for you, great. Be vegan, just be aware of a issue with B12 specifically, and vitamin D as well, because it tends to be low fat, yeah. You want to be vegetarian, great. You want to be ketogenic, great. You want to be paleo, great. You want to be carnivore, great. You want to eat the standard British diet, no, not so great. That will give you diabetes, yeah. So, you know, that's what I'm saying. But do not push your opinion or mask them or, you know, distort things to try to convince other people that's what it should be, yeah. So I urge everyone, the only way to know what works for you is to try it, yeah. So it's, you know, everyone should be in a low carb diet, you know, regardless of what whether you want to be low carb vegan, low carb vegetarian, low carb carnivore, doesn't matter, yeah. It's low carb, because high carbohydrates, high refined fats, high sugars is where diabetes sits, and heart disease as well. So everybody should be doing that in the first place. And the easiest way to do that, cut out all processed food, cut out all sugars, yeah, and cut out the bad fat. That's the trans fat, that's your margarine as opposed to butter if you like, that's your refined vegetable oil. Just stick with olive oil, stick with coconut oil, stick with avocado oil, you know, butter, those kind of things, yeah. And that's it. And have, you know, if we didn't move or walk or swim, you know, or grow on earth, you don't eat it. So if it didn't grow from the ground, you know, below ground or above ground or from a tree, or if you didn't swim or didn't walk, you don't eat it. It's really, it is that simple. It is that simple, yeah. But please do not let people sway. People who've, you know, have got bias towards certain diets, and they haven't even tried any of the one. Because as I say, I've gone for every single one. Vegetarian for 20 years, vegan for 3 months, very difficult. Ketogenic for 4 years, and carnivore. Yeah, so I've tried everything. I've been in each one long enough to see what it did, and in each one, I've actually done blood tests to see the impact of that on my body until I found the right one for me. Is carnivore right for everyone? No, of course it's not. As I say, it's about being able to sustain and maintain it. Not everybody wants to eat meat for the rest of their life. I've got no problem with that. And I've never thought I would have said that, you know, 30 years ago. But hey, things change in life. So if you want to have a variety of food, great. You know, have a nice balanced diet, but go low carb. Yeah, so don't prioritize your carbohydrate through vegetables, you know, and some good fruits like avocado, you know, low glycemic fruit like berries, yeah, rather than prioritizing through grains. That's all it is, yeah. I hope you found some help, some value from this, guys. I just wanted to give you a perspective, having been there myself in all these different areas of diet, the impact is had for me, well, from the autoimmune side and the hormone side and my own personal experience, and try to put things on even keel, if you like. So try to understand, if you're ever doubtful whether what somebody tells you is biased or not, you know, the easiest way to do is just see where they come from, what they're doing themselves, yeah, and also just research on reputable website like PubMed, which is peer-reviewed studies, you know, controlled studies, actually scientific studies. There's another one called ResearchGate, and don't just, you know, don't just Google stuff on the internet. What is this? What is that? Because you're gonna get biased information there. Just get right information, yeah. And as always, if you need any help, you know, with understanding what works for you, what's the best way for you forward, diet-wise, whichever beliefs, whichever diet you want to stick with or try, please feel free to call me. Yeah, if you know anyone who's struggling with different things, symptoms of underactive thyroid, autoimmune, whatever might be the case, pass this on to them, pass them my details. I do specialize with autoimmune, diabetes, and underactive thyroid. That's what I do. I've suffered myself for those, not diabetes, thank God, touch wood, but underactive thyroid is an autoimmune, so I know exactly what it feels like and what needs to be done to fix that on a diet that is relevant for the person and their own lifestyle. Okay, great. So have a great day. It looks like we are okay today. It snowed, but it looks like the roads are fine. It's not snowing anymore, though we're told we might start snowing again. So fingers crossed it doesn't, otherwise we come to a standstill. The schools in the UK are shut. Can you believe it? We've had 3 centimeters of snow and they're shut in the school. This is how we cope with bad weather in this country. And yet again, you go to Europe, they get like 1 meter of snow and they're still keeping the schools open. What can you do? That's life. Okay, great. Everybody have a great rest of the week. Have a great weekend, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.